Hi, it's Jon Cronshaw here with my author diary for the weekend in December the 11th, 2022. I've had a busy week. It's one of those weeks where it's like started off really well and then the last day or so hasn't been that great. Um, Basically, I've been working on my book, Ravenglass Legends, book one. So I'm now about 50,000 words into that book. Really pleased with the progress on that. On Thursday, I wrote about 1,000 words, and then I've just had eye strain since. So this happens occasionally when I'm doing kind of focused work. So whatever, it's just part and parcel of my eye condition. So I've just kind of taken a step back. Probably get back to it on Monday. Yeah, it's going well though. Really enjoying the drift of the story. I don't know yet whether to add a second POV to this one. Like, I think when it's done, I'm about 2/3 of the way through the story now, so it might land about 70,000 words, 75,000, something like that, which is a sweet spot for me. I've really liked that word length because before I used to do kind of 50,000 words, 60,000 words. I think 70 to 75 is a really nice amount of story. But we'll see. It might need a second POV. I think it's all right. I think the second POV thing, it could be done as a parallel story. It could be done as another novel, So I don't know yet. But I am going to finish this first POV. I prefer personally stories with one POV or a kind of very tight POV around a small group. But this one will be in two different locations and tell kind of parallel stories. So I don't know yet. But yeah, the eye strain, that's kind of pulled me back a bit. But as I say, whatever. In terms of reading, I read the book Dark Money by Jane Mayer. This was a book basically about the funding of kind of extreme right wing politics and things like that in America. So this was fascinating. It's I don't like politics particularly, but I find I don't know. I'm kind of interested in how politics and conspiracy and things like that are so intertwined at the moment, and how those ideas have kind of become mainstream. So it's not really research because it's not my original research or anything like that, but it's definitely an area I've been reading about over the last few weeks, last few months. Something that has kind of just a bit of a side interest, especially in America. And I think because the thing with American politics is, it's a very interesting and very kind of peculiar for the rest of us. But the things that happen in America, what is it they say? If America gets cough, then Britain gets cold or something. It's like we kind of get those things coming to us maybe in a few years or in a more diluted form. So it's just interesting for me, at least, to see what's going on, try and understand it. I used to be a political reporter. That's what I did before getting into fiction. And even though I try my best now to avoid UK politics, I'm still interested in it, but on a more kind of not in the partisan politics, but kind of a step back, if that makes sense, like a bit of a remove from it. So yeah, just very much interested, especially in, I suppose, looking at I don't know what you call it. Maybe, yeah, I suppose it would be almost like the QAnon, the kind of far right conspiracies and things like that, and how they have moved the debate in America, from being, basically fringe ideas to what is seen as basically conservative politics now, which is really, really odd, but really interesting at the same time. Yeah, what else? Yeah, reading the book as well. Again, this is just on the crazy thing. It's called PCL, and it's about what's his name, Jim Baker, who's an American, what's it called, Pentecostal TV evangelist, and just his story, because he's had a lot of the people who I'm interested in kind of appearing on his show and things like that. So yeah, just kind of looking at it from that angle as well, and how a lot of the stuff kind of intersects. So yeah, interesting book. I'm also reading a book called Wide for the Win, which is about book marketing. Now, I mentioned a few months ago that I am what's known as going wide with my books, or at least quite a few of them in the new year. And what this means is they will be available on more platforms. And because I have spent all of my author career really focused on Amazon, I'm having to learn new techniques, new tactics, learn how this ecosystem works. And, one thing I've been doing this week is registering for things like Apple Books and Google Play and places like that. So, this is something I'm doing, but it's also more work. But it's, there's that risk of the wake-up call I had from having all my eggs in one basket, which is never good. So yeah, need to get on top of that in the new year. What else? Yeah, the audiobook news. There we go. Dawn of Assassins. The first 3 books of that, I've signed a contract for that. So yeah, that is a thing that's going ahead. Really pleased with that. The narrator is really good. And covers already look awesome. So I'm just really looking forward to having that out. I'm going to have those 3 audiobooks coming out next year, and the Ravenglass Chronicles audiobook. So yeah, again, another different revenue stream from just Amazon alone. So look forward to getting that out there and trying to sell some audiobooks. I have had a question this week. So this was from Rob Sanders on Twitter. So he asked me how much world building I do before I sit down to write. Now this is an interesting question for me because I've done this strategically now. I did quite a bit of world building back in 2015, 2016 for the fantasy world that I'm writing in now. So drawing a lot of maps, coming up with different places. And what I've done, because I'm writing at different times, is I've got the locations, but they'll be different depending on what point in time it is. So there'll be hints and residues of different places, different times. So I've got a location that is in Ravenglass Chronicles called Nordterm, which is I had the idea for basically a city that had been carved out of a mountain, out of a cliff that overlooks the sea. Its dock is inside the it's basically inside the mountain itself. So that has evolved. When that in the Ravenglass Chronicles, that is basically it's a city within this thing, and there's a tower on top. But then in Dawn of Assassins, same location, a city has kind of emerged around that. So there's an upper city and lower city, and the thing that I'm writing at the moment, which is set, the Ravenglass Legends thing, this is set again several hundred years before the Ravenglass Chronicles. So this one, I'm going to look at that in terms of where's this area going to be, what's it going to be like, and I'm wondering whether is the city going to be there yet? Is it going to be a new settlement or whatever? So yeah, I think because part of the question he asked was whether I kind of did it as I went along or had it beforehand, and it's a mixture of that. Like when I'm actually in the place in the city, I like to imagine it, I like to picture it, and then I build I have to visualize it in my head. It's almost like I've got, ironically, a really good visual imagination. So looking at, I can picture towns and scenes from, my Wasteland books, Blind Gambit, all these things, the Ravenglass Chronicles, all the towns in it, I can picture them in my head really clearly. I can make my way around them. Same with the maps, it's all in here. And it's just, it comes in to it either as part of the process of writing, sitting down, writing, getting those details out. And yeah, in the editing as well, sometimes I'll add, I think, what do I say? It's like, I like to have my world feel like it's lived in. And that's something I add on my third draft, is like getting those little details in about the world, little specific things. So yeah, if you have any questions, you can get in touch on Twitter. It's at Jon_Cronshaw, or you can email me, joncronshawauthor@gmail.com. So until next time, cheerio.